Okay, let's zero in on the world here. Let's stop out of the universe. Let's get down to the world here, and let's go to Codex Vaticanus. I wish you could see it really close. Look right over there. Do you see all those little scribbles around the outside there? Do you see them? Yeah, thank you for talking. I need to hear you. See all that?
Yes.
That's Susanna. Oh, Susanna, don't you lie to me. The Apocrypha is supposed to have Susanna in Daniel. But the Vaticanus didn't have Susanna in Daniel, so they scribbled it into the outside. I just thought you'd like to see that. This is a quote. This is from J. Neville Birdsall. He said, in short, he's a major text scholar, paleographer. They like the guy, okay? He died in 2005. In short, we cannot be certain of the exact date nor the place of origin of Codex Vaticanus, nor in spite of scholarly efforts can its history before the 15th century, 1400s, be traced.
That's right.
Did you get that? Modern scholars cannot confirm that their baby, Codex Vaticanus, is any older than the 1400s AD. Despite all their research, they could only confirm what Erasmus said in the 1500s. Juan Ginés de Sepúlveda wrote to Erasmus on November 1st, 1533, these words, now this copy, talking about Vaticanus, is the most correct of all. See if you recognize this kind of words. You hear it all the time. The most correct of all, as its antiquity declares, which must not be doubted, but it was also converted from the most corrected copy and handed down to us by our elders. I translated from the Latin. Right there. And Erasmus wrote back to Juan Ginés de Sepúlveda on February 17, 1534, quod scribiste code Greco, what you write about he wrote it in Latin, okay? It was just a joke, okay? He wrote it in Latin. He didn't write it in English. What you write about the Greek Codex, which you have found in the Pontifical Library, so much agrees with the Vulgate. That's Latin. The Vulgate edition. See that you do not take vain effort. In other words, don't waste your time, buddy. For it is certain that when the Greeks entered into league with the Roman Church, this also was included in the articles. You'll find out about that in a second. That the Greek codices, especially the Gospels, should be corrected to the Roman reading. That's the Catholic Latin Vulgate. The Council of Florence he's talking about. That's 1535 to 1545. During that time, the Catholic Church played the can't we all just get along kind of thing. And they were getting together with the Greek Orthodox and trying to make, one world religion. Yeah. And there was an attempt to unite the Eastern Orthodox Church there. Rome wanted to Latinize, then, the Greek texts. And they wrote about that. And Erasmus was like going, yeah, whatever. And so Sepúlveda sent him 365 readings from Vaticanus. And he's going, dude, you just took it from the Vulgate. So Vaticanus has Latin readings. Did you know that? Latin spellings. Didn't use the Greek spellings. They actually lose them right out of the Latin Vulgate and then Greekized them. I thought you'd like that. Interesting. And then February 17, 1534, he continued, wherefore from this codex there is nothing that you can judge. But the readings of the Greeks is to be sought from the Greek authors. Duh. Athanasius, Basil, Origen, Chrysostom, Nazianzen, Cyril. So the Vaticanus to Erasmus was nothing but a Greek text adapted to the Roman Catholic Latin Vulgate. In the, say it with me, 1400s. Without any value as a better ancient text at all. My source said Sepúlveda wrote to Erasmus November 1st, 1534, but it said that Erasmus answered Juan Ginés de Sepúlveda on February 17th, 1534, 8 months before. How does that work? Well, something's wrong here. And this is what it's like when you're doing research. You're going through and going, well, now, typically, you answer a question after it's asked, right? So this is where I got it from, right here. Got Chris Thomas. And he got this whole article here, and he got his info from right there. And you can't see it, but that's Thomas Hartwell Horn. He has a book that he wrote in 1856, so I got the book. And guess what? Chris Thomas copied all the dates correctly, so that was right. However, that one too, but they're wrong. They're impossible dates. I'll get to that. And so this 1856 book here was supposed to copy this book from 1780. And that's the writings of Sepulveda. That's volume 3 right there of Sepulveda's works. So I got the book, and this is what I do when I'm doing research. I made bookmarks, did the OCR, the whole thing. That's optical character recognition, so that you can search all the books. And then I added an index right there. That's all in Latin. So, but it helps if you're looking for Latin words. You know, you search by Latin, it works. And then I found the place where Erasmus's notes were and letters were, and then I checked them, and it turned out that 1856 book copied all the dates wrong. Well, all but one, okay? So I'll show you. Letter 1 was 1532, not 1522. Letter 2, August 16, 1532, not 1522. Letter 3 was 1532, not 1522. And then he got a changeover in letter 4. It was November 1, 1533, not 1532. So it's only off by 1 year. And then finally, letter 5 was correct. Yay, give him that one. February 17, 1534 was correct. But letter 7 was July 2nd, 1534, not June 0th. How do you get June 0th? This is how it works. In the Latin, it says it's the 5th before the nonus of June. That's an impossible date, and I'll tell you why. The nonus is 8 days before the Ides, and you're going, okay, so what's the Ides? The Ides is the 15th on 31-day months, and the 13th on all the other months. So the 30-day months and the 28-day months, it's only the 13th. So if you have June has only how many days? 30. So if you go to the Ides, then you're at the 13th, and if you take away 8, you end up with 5, and you take away 5 from 5, and you end up with 0. That's how you know when you're reading your source that maybe there's something wrong there. June had to be wrong. Fun fact, okay, but July has 31 days. So the Ides would be the 15th, 8 days before that. By the way, nonus means 9, not 8, but Romans count starting with their own day. So 3 days from now is 4 days for them. So 9 days is really 8. Do you understand what I'm saying? You count your own day, 1, 2, 3, 4, instead of 1, 2, 3, like we do. Okay, so that's why the nonus are 8 days before that. 15 minus 8 is 7. 7 minus 5 is 2. Thank you for somebody saying that. So there you go. That works. July 2nd makes perfect sense. That is what is in the original letter from Erasmus to Sepulveda. And people say King James people don't think things through. I did all that for a date. Not a date with her. I'll do anything for a date with her. We who trust the King James Bible aren't afraid of the truth. Remember, if you guys have watched any of my stuff or read any of my stuff, I was anti-King James. It was because I was challenged and I checked it and found out that it was right and I was wrong that I came to the King James in the first place. So we who trust the King James aren't afraid of the truth, but they won't even do chemical tests on their own manuscripts. Dude. So even modern scholars admit that Vaticanus only has known history starting in the 1400s. And a 1400s document has nothing, I agree with Erasmus, nothing to do with your Christian faith. What about Sinaiticus? Did you like that for a quick overview of Vaticanus there? Okay, let's go to Sinaiticus. Let's go back to the universe. Let's pull down a round earth. And then we'll go right here to the Codex. What, did I say something? Right over here, do you see this? This is the one you pay. Now, it used to be $500, now it's $1,000 to get a Sinaiticus like this. And if you look, you see Sinaiticus. You call it what you want. I just use the British Library term. They say Sinaiticus. So you can pick your own way. Now look over here. My goodness, you got the white around the edges. You got the notes down. You got the choir number, and not the singing group, but the group of 16 pages. And then you got the folio number. That's when you have a big sheet like this and you fold it like this. This is called a sheet. You fold it and you now have 2 folia, leaves. And they have 2 pages on each. So they have 1 sheet, 2 folia, 4 pages. A choir is 16 pages. It's 4 folded sheets. Okay, so you have the choirs and the folia and the page number, whether it's recto in the front, verso in the back. And then this is supposed to be the Sinaiticus. Now, really, the truth is, they didn't give it to you the way it really comes out, but you'll see that in a minute. They color all the pages like this. And I say they color it because they admitted it if you get the handout that goes with the thing when you buy it. So let's go on to the next slide here. This is what the real one looks like at the British Library right now. Look at those pages. Wow, it almost looks like nobody ever touched the edges, doesn't it? You ever seen an ancient book? Tomorrow I'll show you some Alexandrinus. You'll see what the edges of a real ancient book look like. But anyway, let's go quickly here. Codex Sinaiticus, December 24th, 1933, it came in. I want you to see, does this look like a really ancient book here, the way these guys are handing it? This is right off the film from the BBC. I did these screenshots myself. Looks like he's handling a newspaper, doesn't it? Check that out, man. Just take a look at that. Take a look at that. Okay. Just hands all over it, blah, blah, blah. You do that if you did that with the Alexandrinus, and you push your fingers on it, the letters will come off on your thumb. Because it actually is old. Because it follows, I don't know, the law of nature, that things decay when they're old. So either this doesn't follow the law of nature, they actually rewrote what papyrus does over time because of Sinaiticus and Vaticanus. Did you know that? They literally said, well, it must be wrong, instead of going, you're kidding me, this ain't old. Because science. We learn a lot about trusting the science lately. Okay, so look at that thing. Flip, flip, flip. All right, so then here's the lady. This is just lately. This is just the last few years. British Library, ladies taking theirs, go flip the pages, or whoop, and they even go flip, just like a page does. Just really nice. That's animal skin. Ancient 300s AD animal skin. I can't say that without laughing. So there's the Sinaiticus for you. But that is what it looks like if you look at the high-quality photographs. I have every single high-quality photograph of Sinaiticus from them, their equipment. Big rooms full of big old computers and cameras and lighting and action and all that stuff. They did all that for and that's right there. That's what page, Quire 46, Folio 8, Versos. That's the left side of the page. That's all those letters, what they mean. And on there's the right side of the page. Now let's look at it again. Left side of the page, right side of the page, left side of the page, right side of the page. They look identical, don't they? The right side of the page is what Tischendorf took out when he stole, borrowed, swiped the 43 folia of the Sinaiticus from the St. Catherine's Monastery in 1844. And that's what it looked like in 1859. And I don't know, what I said to Stephen Avery when he sent me to this back in 2014, I said, it looks like somebody spilled coffee, like I did in seminary. And he tried to blot it up, and he started spreading it. And he started spreading it on the different pages. I said, is it possible that somebody put something? That's when I knew nothing about this. I just spent 4 hours looking at the manuscripts. I said, is it possible that somebody like doctored it by, making it look older? Anyway, that's another story. You get to there. So let's put them side by side just to show you. And they said, you're making that up. I said, I didn't make it up. I'm not the photographer. They even put a neutral color behind it in order to bring out the natural color. It's all on the Sinaiticus website. You can see it for yourself. Now, there's the Sinaiticus. That's the mosaic I made from every single high-definition photograph, untouched whatsoever. Now, what do you see? You're going to become experts. Better than the experts. You're going to be better than the experts because you're actually going to tell the truth. So let's go right here. What color would you say that is? What color do you say that is? Okay, white and white. Those are all the pages that were taken by Tischendorf. I'm sure that's just a massive coincidence that they went straight to the King of Saxony and they were completely separated from the rest. And so they weren't able to be tampered with whatsoever, as Dr. Sorensen would tell you. So look right here, though. This is I wish I could. Right over here, look at this. This is the amazing thing. Watch this. Does this overall set of colors look the same as this overall set of colors? Actually, no. They look slightly different if you didn't have all these lights on it. If you had it dark in here, you could see it a lot better. I wish you could, because the shine is actually different. The part that's between these sections is different from the part in these sections. Then I looked over here, and you look, there's a big change right here, isn't there? What do you guess that is? Take a wild guess. No, but what do you think that last section is? Who said it? Stephen. New Testament. And look, right there is where it looks like it starts. So let's take a look. What is that right there? Matthew 1. So there were 3 sessions of staining that were done. When they got to the New Testament, they started to really pull out the letters, and it became a problem. So they had to really lighten up after that. I was able to do this while I was preparing for this, and I went, wait a second. Could that be Matthew 1:1 right there? And I just zoomed in on it, and then I pulled in and got the stuff, and I went, oh my goodness, it is. That's awesome. You can actually see the different parts of the staining process that they did. And by the way, nature doesn't do that. Any other manuscript in the world does not age like that. Nothing does that. Men do that. It was doctored. Hope I'm not boring you. All right, so let's zip right through this because we don't have much time. That's not suspicious at all, is it? They want you to place your faith on stuff made from those 2 manuscripts. If you had the world's oldest Bible, why would you stain it? That was one of the early questions I had to answer. If you really believed you had the world's oldest Bible, why would you stain it? The only thing I can think of is maybe if he found out it's not the world's oldest Bible, but he wanted someone else to think that it was. What if somebody made an arrangement with Mr. Tischendorf? That's a thought that I started to develop. So there's St. Catherine's Monastery. That is the place where it was found, finally. And there's the drawing that was made of it in Vostok Christiansky. That's Russian, the first word, and the second one is Old Church Slavonic, because it was done by Porfiry Uspensky. That's his book of his drawings that he did. He did a good job. I mean, man, dude, that's good art. I like art. And so it's actually called, in English, when you take the Russian and the Old Church Slavonic, it's the Christian East, and it's talking about the monastery. This is Porfiry Uspensky, just some dumb guy, right? He went to Theological Seminary, Kostroma, candidate of theology, St. Petersburg, in 1818 to 24. And then he became a hierodeacon, a monk deacon. After that, became a teacher of religion at Richelieu, Lyceum, Odessa. Then he became a archimandrite, which is the guy just below a bishop. Then after that, he became the abbot of the monastery of the Domitian in Odessa. Then he learned modern Greek. He already knew ancient Greek, because that's what is his religion. He learned Italian on top of that. In 1838, he became the Kherson Theological Seminary in Ukraine. That's some place you've never heard of before. Priest for the Russian Ecclesiastical Mission in Vienna. And then he learned German, and then he studied the Southwestern Slavs. This guy is just some ordinary dude, right? Off the street. Then he was sent to Jerusalem. Then he decided to visit the monasteries because he had the authority to do so. Don't let anybody fool you about this guy, Porfiry Uspensky. You ever hear his name? Oh, he didn't have any authority. Yes, he did. He had the authority to do everything he did. He visited Middle East, Egypt, Sinai, Mount Athos in Greece, etc. Then he visited in 1845 St. Catherine's. He saw the Sinaiticus. He saw it again 5 years later. And both times he talked about it as what color? White. 1856, he published books on them. I have them. I got to translate them from Old Church Slavonic. I don't know any of that, but I used Bulgarian, Russian, and Slovene. I don't know them either, but I'm a linguist. I just did my best. Did my best translation, and then we found out there's this person who knows Old Church Slavonic. And in the Ukraine, it was the Spillman family knew somebody. So she translated it into Russian, and then they translated it in English, and we put mine and theirs next to each other, and they were over 95% identical. In fact, theirs was more convicting than mine. I actually held back, went, oh, it couldn't be that. Oh, it was. And it was really cool. We published that in the book, and so you can see that for yourself. He said this about Sinaiticus: the first manuscript containing the Old Testament, which was incomplete, and the entire New Testament with the epistles of St. Barnabas and the book of Hermas, was written on the finest white parchment, on the fourth tier of a long-awaited sheet. Porphyry was a highly educated man with legitimate access to manuscripts. This was unlike hidden hand Constantine Tischendorf. Debbie drew that. 1832, he went to high school. I know that. What a surprise, right? At the Gymnasium in Plauen, he learned some Greek and Latin. After that, he went to the University of Leipzig, 1834. Then the next year, his dad died. He didn't have the greatest relationship with his dad. He really loved his mom. Next year, his mom died. Now, that's hard when you're going to college. But he did. He made it through the 4-year degree at 23 years old. And then he really got into it. Actually, no, that's it. Every accomplishment that he was so full of all came from his little Bible college education, as it were, and his high school. That's it. All the degrees, all the accolades, everything that's laid on top of him was all, well, if you planted it in your garden, you could get the most beautiful roses. He decided to correct what he called the hereditary sin of the received text behind our King James Bibles. That was it's his words, not mine. I didn't make them up. He wrote it. What kind of man was Tischendorf? You know the 3 temptations of the man of God? The gold, the girls, and the glory? Riches, relationships, and reputation? Okay, well, as far as the girls, he got the girl. He got the pastor's daughter, a Lutheran pastor's daughter. As far as he wanted the glory. He always wanted the glory. You'll see that in a second. And he wanted the gold, but he never really got it. Though Brother Sorensen and Brother Bill Cooper talked about some of the things he got. He got some money early on, but he never got what he wanted. It was always like just beyond his reach. He wrote about that. It was kind of cool. All right, so he wanted to be the first to transcribe Vaticanus because Alexandrinus was already done. And he went to Ephraemi Rescriptus, but after, his 2 years and all the time he spent in Paris on it, it wasn't a big thing. He got some accolades, but he didn't get what he wanted. His candy-coated carrot was the Vaticanus. He wanted to get in, but then he got an offer he couldn't refuse. And the one he wouldn't talk about. This man who blabbed more than anybody I've ever seen was silent about his meeting with the Pope. So he got a special audience with Pope Gregory XVI. This is the one, if you read Brother Sorensen's book and Brother Cooper's book, you'll find that Gregory XVI was the one who was killing people. He was the one pope who was enthusiastic about turning people over to the Inquisition for execution. Okay? And he takes Tischendorf. I'm sure that's not suspicious at all, is it? Unless they thought they could get something out of him, right? Well, Tischendorf wanted to make a name for himself. Pope held to the Vaticanus. He wanted to make his own copy, so he met. There he is, Pope Gregory XVI, in May 1843. He'd been there since February. How does that work out? Why then? Why did he stay in the city, and what else was happening? I had created a timeline on Sinaiticus, and suddenly a bunch of dates started to coalesce. Take a look. Meeting with Tischendorf. Oh, you can't read that from there. This is the book, Who Faked the World's Oldest Bible. I'll make it a little bigger there. There we go. So in 1843, in January, Tischendorf was lauded for deciphering the Ephraemi Rescriptus, which, read the book. It's another story. He set out for other locations in January looking for manuscripts. In February is when a monk named Kalanichos saw Simonides, Constantine Simonides, working on the Sinaiticus at Panteleimon Monastery on Mount Athos. And you can learn about that. We don't have a whole lot of time because it's really short. I'll go really fast. But my point is, there's a point where Simonides is going over the text of Barnabas because he has 7 different copies, and he's got one back from Callistratus, the editor of the one that's in the Sinaiticus. I had a theory a long time ago that all the corrections in the Sinaiticus would match Simonides' published text of Barnabas, and they do. They match. Do you understand what that means? That means the person whoever wrote Sinaiticus, and then I had another theory, that one of those 7 monasteries or places, manuscripts of Barnabas that he had in the footnotes would match the original Sinaiticus. And I was right. The Gaspareos matches Sinaiticus. And the center text in his book on Barnabas matches all the corrections. You can go right online and see them for yourself if you want to read the Greek, but it's right there in my book as well. You can see it. It all matches up. So Simonides really was the author. He really did put this together. His story really does hold. So at the same time, though, he starts looking at, he did what I would do. I just thought, what would I do? I would be so focused on that and my 7 copies of Barnabas, and nobody's ever seen the first 4 chapters in the first part of the 5th. Nobody has. They've only made emendations of it. Nobody's ever seen it, and I've got all these copies of it. I want to get this published. And then he starts looking, what about the other stuff that my great uncle gave me to do? And he starts seeing all the changes. he made a promise to his great uncle. It's written in his biography. He wants to do what his great uncle has left him to do. He's supposed to get this out. They want to get that printing press, of course, for the monastery so that people stop stealing their manuscripts and they can print them instead and keep them at the monastery. It makes perfect sense. He'd be betraying his uncle if he went and changed the text back to the regular Byzantine text, but the corrections were changing it back to the Byzantine text. And that wasn't, his great uncle was actually a text critic, just like Tischendorf. Simonides didn't know that. He just knew he loved his uncle. So he wasn't going to do it. He got away from the Sinaiticus, and he took off. And I had a theory about the timing of it. And when my son and I translated the introduction to the book of Barnabas that he published in 1843, it matched my theory exactly to the dates. That's when Tischendorf was in Rome. And that's when they said, the Pope will now see you. So, what happened? In short, boom, manuscript goes down to Cairo, then down to St. Catherine's Monastery. Boom, Simonides comes out of Mount Athos and either takes a ship over here to Chios and to Smyrna, or else he goes around this way. But either way, he's going to get it published because he has his friend Vaticanus, part of a huge shipping magnate family, to get his book published. The book goes down there, and then what else happens? Whoever found out about it at Mount Athos, whatever spy was there, probably a Jesuit, which makes sense, went straight to the Pope, to Cardinal Mai, and then went to the Pope, reported on what was going on, and immediately, in the same timeline that I created, told them, talk to Tischendorf. And then the guy says, now remember, don't say anything about Vaticanus. Take a guy and his whole life is wrapped around it. Of course he did. And the Pope said, and this Pope who killed people is sitting in his relaxed clothes. That's what that drawing was. And he's saying, I'm sorry, I haven't heard anything about that. Of course you can talk to me about it. And he basically gave him an offer he couldn't refuse. And what was that offer? There's this book down there that's down in St. Catherine's Monastery. And if you get that book for me, I'll let you see Vaticanus. Get the candy-coated carrot there? Do you understand how motivated the man was? All right, I'm going really fast now. But are you kind of keeping up with where I am? Do you kind of see where I am? Okay, let's go forward. Constantine Simonides was born my birthday, November 5th, 1820, though a little bit older than I. Took his uncle, great-uncle Benedict's life work and made a Bible in the Old Codex format as a present to Tsar Nicholas I and hoped for a printing press for Panteleimon Monastery, which his great-uncle had actually spent all his life fixing after the Greek War for independence, starting in 1820. He knows. In 1821, then 1839 to 41, he transcribed what his great-uncle did. It's in my book. You can look it up, all the details. This is Constantine Tischendorf getting older. Debbie drew that one too. It's awesome. Took the Sinaiticus, and what did he do with it? He stated it was made in the 300s AD. Now, if you've done that and you figured out it wasn't, after you take the 43 folia, you got to color that puppy. You got to make it look older. And there's a lot of counterfeiting that could do it. And the person who did it, I think, was criminal Kyrillos, the guy he called Cyril. And that's a whole story, and it's so fun. It was so fun finding out all the information and what was said in confessional about him. He's really a Muslim spy. Great stuff. He beat the monks when he got his power. Anyway, when Simonides said he made it, of course, Constantine called him a liar and acted like he didn't know Greek, which is he was a Greek. And then he got rewarded by the Pope. He got many honors. See all that? That's 10 lines of honors. If you can't read it, it's right there. Translate it from the Latin. That's a bunch of abbreviations. I needed an AI to help me with that one. That was difficult. Look at all that. Look at all that. That's all his accolades that he got. He was threatened by Simonides. He's threatened by Porphyry Uspensky's words. So then he called Uspensky ignorant. He got 4 years at college and he thinks he knows everything. Wow, that sounds like today. All right, so he never got the gold. It always eluded him. And what was the result? You got the King James Bible, and you got Constantine Tischendorf, and you have a result of Bibles that follow them too. Take a look with this. Just look at these real quick with me, okay? I did this a few months ago. I started checking the text myself. Every single part that says Jesus is creator is being removed from the modern Bibles by simply changing the instrumentation by Jesus to making him a middleman through Jesus. So take a look. English Standard, through him. Legacy Standard, that's the John MacArthur Special. New American Standard, through him. NIV, God who created all things. It's not even there. The rest, by Jesus Christ, isn't even in the verse there. NL, the New Living, through him, God created. God created. So they changed and added God created, even though that's not in the Greek, because they didn't want by him, right, by Christ, were created all things. So they went through him, and they wrote God created everything through him. They actually changed scripture there. There's the MEV. Some people really love the MEV, the modern English version. There it is. And through him made the world. They're also talking about instrumentality. They're talking about God just using Jesus. Is Jesus not God? Did Jesus not become the creator? Of course he did. The doctrine of Jesus Christ as creator is being eliminated from modern Bibles. Here's the MEV again. Where is origins? God has origins? Jesus has an origin? I thought he's from forever. That's what it says in my Bible, his goings forth. He was already going forth. Amen. I could go into a lot of detail, but you can watch another video on that. From everlasting. They say his origins are old from ancient days. The MFE is not just an updated King James. Get it? Your King James says Jesus Christ is eternal. He didn't have an origin in ancient days. Okay, virgin or young woman? The young woman is with child. It says in what? Oh my goodness. Your King James says Jesus Christ was born of a virgin. Agrees with Matthew 1:23. Narrow or difficult? NKJV says it's difficult way to lead the life. I thought his yoke was easy. New King James, the message of the cross is us who are being saved. We're off on the road to salvation. That's what it says in one of the translations, the Jerusalem Bible. It says the road to salvation, because Catholics believe in a progressive salvation. Not that you are saved or you're damned, but you're one or the other. Here's the NAS legacy. He who does not obey the Son will not see life. This is a back door. They took not believe and changed it into not obey. But if not obeying doesn't get you doesn't let you see life, then that means only obeying, obedience rather than faith gives you salvation. Get it? He believeth not. They actually go through the back door by that, and you'll find it in different versions as well. The King James Bible answers your questions. The King James Bible makes your hope sure. Hebrews 6:19. You want to read it with me? Which hope we have as an anchor of the soul, both sure and steadfast. That's it. Other Bibles leave you unsure. King James Bible is the end time Bible. Now read this one with me. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. God bless y'all.